Jay here, Stretford, Paddock. This is the Paper Talk. As you can see, I'm in the studio. You know what to do now. Get involved in the chat and the comments. We are live. I want to hear from you lot. We've got loads of stories to get through. Obviously, we'll be chatting about the latest Takeover news. Is there any Takeover news? That's the big question. So we'll be getting into that. It's dragging on now, isn't it? It's gone from being a Takeover update to a saga. That is what it's becoming. And we know that it's Sir Jim Ratcliffe or Sheikh Jassim, more than likely. But it's just going on and on and on and on. And it is very, very, very frustrating. So we'll be getting into that. We'll also be looking at transfer targets and how some of our targets look like they're going elsewhere because of the takeover, because deals haven't been done and we don't know who is going to be the new owners. We don't know the transfer budget. We know we've got some budget, but not loads. That could be scuppering some of the deals that Erik Ten Hag does want to make. So we'll be getting into that. We'll also talk as well a little bit about Marcus Rashford. Obviously got a goal last night in the game against North Macedonia. And we'll be getting into a couple of other bits as well. So make sure you are hitting that like button. If you're not doing as well, subscribe to the channel. I'll go through some of the comments and I'll get into the first story. Loads of people in the comments. Some people saying, what? If I lose, you and Qatar don't come in quicker, I am supporting a new club. I think someone's trolling there. Lucky Singh, Jakoya Trott, Rebecca Jade O'Sullivan, Prabhav Kandawal, James Swibanks, Manchester Maverick, Tobias Nielsen, Faraz Khan, all say morning, Jay, Jamie White, Dave Mason, Gary the Don 82, Phobos Taco Man, loads of people, Colin Couple Ditch, loads of people saying good morning, morning Jay, how's it going, all that good stuff. Let's start with Marcus Rashford, my favourite Manchester United player. There you can see, this. We had this last night in a podcast, but there's been developing stories or updates this morning. See it there from The Guardian. I think he's that Fabrizio Romano who's got that one, and Ed Aarons saying that, as you can see, Manchester United are on the verge of reaching an agreement with Marcus Rashford over a new long-term deal with the England forward expected to become one of the club's highest earners. Rashford, who scored England's third goal, I think that should be, in their Euro 2024 qualifier against North Macedonia on at Old Trafford Monday night, at Old Trafford. Who's subbed this? It's terrible. Is about to enter the final year of his current deal at United, worth an estimated 250 grand a week. But having enjoyed his most prolific season of his career so far, he scored 30 goals in all competitions. Rashford's performances are expected to earn him a hefty pay rise as talks between United and his representatives near their conclusion. Listen, we did all this in terms of a debate last night on the podcast. I'm all for it. I want him to sign. I don't want him to leave. I don't think we replace Marcus Rashford. Some people claiming just sell him. We'll buy someone better. Don't see that happening. I'll be honest with you. And why would you want? I don't want to try and replace Marcus Rashford. Whatever issues Manchester United have got in terms of our squad, in terms of our first 11, in terms of players, Marcus Rashford ain't one of them. We need to strengthen in areas. We don't need to get rid of Marcus Rashford. So if he gets a new deal, I think he deserves it. Don't forget as well, this is a player that cost us nothing. He came through the academy. We didn't spend 80, 90, 100 million quid on him. We spent nothing on him. He deserves to be one of the club's top earners. I don't have a problem with that. You might look at it and go, these wages are ridiculous, whatever. But I think if you are entering probably what is going to be your best contract from the age of 25, when you sign that deal, that's usually around the sort of the best deal you get, because you're going to be coming into your peak years during the sort of from 25 to 29 or 30 or whatever. You want to get, you expect to get the most money you're going to get. And I think Marcus deserves to be on a parity with the club's top earners. I'm not sure who the club's top earners are. I think David De Gea, I know he's due to leave, or it looks like he's going to leave, is, I think, one of the top earners. I think Jadon Sancho's up there as well. For me, Marcus Rashford should be earning a similar sort of money to those two. Perhaps he probably should be earning more, because I think he's been more effective. Seamus Nolan says he's been a member of the first team for 30 months. He says, very happy with Rashford's new deal. He deserves it, and he is one of our own. Cal Smith says, Jay's head looking lovely this morning. Thank you, Cal. That's what we like to see on this channel. Bit of honesty. Get involved in the chat and the comments, and make sure as well, if you've not done so already, hit that like button. Faraz Khan says, Jay, if we don't get a striker, I think we should go Garnacho, Rashi, and Anthony as our front three. Thoughts? Get involved in the chat. Do you agree with that? Forgive me there, just taking a little sip there of a drink. Yeah. The issue I have with that, I don't mind that as an option. My problem is if that's your only option. Because if Anthony Martial leaves, or if he's still knocking about, can you rely on him? No. I don't think so anyway. Who's your other striker then? Wout Weghorst obviously left. Who's the number 9? We need to bring the striker in. We cannot go into another season relying on either Martial and Marcus Rashford. Last season, we had Rashford, Martial, and Ronaldo. Ronaldo left and replaced him with Wout Weghorst. That didn't really work out, did it? Not the way we wanted it to. I know he had some good games, but let's not kid ourselves. The kid scored no Premier League goals. This season, we need a number 9. Doesn't look like we're going to get Harry Kane, despite the fact he looked at home at Old Trafford, as some people were saying last night when he banged in a goal, especially linking up with the likes of Luke Shaw and Marcus Rashford. But I don't see that deal happening. Looks like that's not going to happen. Certainly not this summer. Maybe we go back in for him next summer when his contract ends and try and just get him on a free. That could happen, but in the meantime, what are you going to do? Let's talk about Sheikh Jassim and the takeover news. You can read it there. You see, Manchester United takeover news. Sheikh Jassim slips ahead of Sir Jim Ratcliffe in buyout race. Now, this came from The Guardian, I think, yesterday. Sean Ingle did a piece. We spoke, I think we tweeted about it yesterday evening. And during, in part of his column on the takeover and how it is affecting transfers and hurting Manchester United, it's like a final parting shot for the club from the Glazers. The fact that this deal hasn't been done yet, the takeover's still rumbling on, and our transfer budget is affected by it. During that article, or during that column, he said that the Sheikh Jassim sort of moved ahead of Sir Jim Ratcliffe in the takeover race, if you want to call it that. Now, the issue with that is it changes almost every day. One day it looks like Sir Jim Ratcliffe is in the lead. The next day it looks like Sheikh Jassim. At one point last week, it looked like Sheikh Jassim was going to get exclusivity. Then it looked like he did another point last week. It looked like he'd done the deal. It was like, oh, you know, he's going to be the new owner of Manchester United. Those were the reports we were getting. And then it turned out that it was all fake news. So you have to be sort of wary a little bit on what you read. And I'm not saying you can't rely on certain sources, but my point is it can change. Certain things are leaked, certain sort of reports come out and you think, okay, the stock market fluctuates. That seems to indicate one thing one minute and another thing the next minute. It's all very confusing and it changes very quickly. We will be speaking to a journalist later on who has been at the forefront of all this. We're going to be getting him on the channel later on this afternoon. So we'll be chatting to him about what is going on with the takeover, with the Glazers, with Sheikh Jassim, and whether Sheikh Jassim is still in pole position, because the latest reports, including the one from The Guardian, which has obviously been picked up by the Evening News there, is that Sheikh Jassim is ahead, but it can change. Alex Buckingham says, to paraphrase Carver from The Wire, this isn't a race, races end. Exactly, well said. Tobias Nilsson says, should we not have a budget to spend anyways without the saga with new owners? I think we have some budget. That was the noises we were getting. There is a certain amount of money that we know we've got. Maybe it's sort of Champions League money or whatever, or just the TV rights or whatever. You've got money, but without the takeover, you haven't got more money. Once the takeover sorted, you will have more funds to spend on transfers, and it looks like Manchester United and Erik ten Hag has his hands tied a little bit, especially when you see some of the players that obviously Erik ten Hag likes, that we've been linked with in the past, and we're not even going for them. We're not even trying to get them, and it baffles me a little bit, because you think, well, why are we not getting them? Why these are players that Erik ten Hag wants, and they're available, and they're doable, and the fee's not astronomical, and then you realise, well, it's pretty obvious. Until this takeover happens, I think he's only got a limited budget. Ryan says, Jay, do you think Erik ten Hag could throw the head up and walk away from the club? His reputation is still very high, but the club could shaft him. I'd think that is a possibility. I don't think it's likely, but it's not beyond the realms of possibility. Erik ten Hag is something of a perfectionist. He demands the best. We've seen that. We've seen how he's reacted in the past. We've seen how he goes about his business. We saw it at Ajax. We've seen it at Manchester United. A great example was the Brentford game last season. We lost 4-0. Everyone's in for extra training. Everyone's running 13 kilometres to make up the lack of the extra 13 kilometres that Brentford ran, including Erik ten Hag. They all run it. That's the sort of measure of the man. That's what his attitude is. He wants the best. He expects the best. And he achieves the best. Look at his career. I think there's only going to be an amount of time he can put up with this. Now, I'm not saying he's going to walk away. I don't think he will. But I don't count it out. If there was a scenario where the Glazers stayed on, which, again, is unlikely, but it's not beyond the realms of possibility, if he felt it was untenable for him to achieve what he wanted to achieve at Manchester United Football Club with the Glazers in charge, then maybe he would walk away from it. Maybe further down the line he'd go, look, There's only so much I can do, especially if he's watching the likes of Manchester City, buying players and winning trophies constantly. And it's like, I can't catch them with these resources. I need more. I need more money. I need more funds. I need better players. I need to be able to bring in the players that I want. I need to stop seeing our rivals buying the players that I'm looking at because I'm not given the funds that I need. So it's not beyond the realms of possibility, but I don't expect it to happen. Dan United 94 says, Jay, when was the last time you got granted exclusivity? Never happened to me. Mo V, who's been a member of the Academy for 29 months, says, Jay, the takeover is a circus. Should we get Kane first, then see to the rest? I wish we could. I wish we could go out and get Kane. I just don't think we can. I'd love to see us get Harry Kane. I'd love to see us to get a prolific number 9. If we went out and got Victor Osimhen, I'd be buzzing, but I just don't see it happening. I think the problem with those transfers is they're going to cost around 100 million, and in terms of our budget, I don't think we've got that to spend on one player this summer. And again, it all leads back to the Glazers and this takeover. And Ross Down says, takeover, I get it. It is dragging on, but this is where we're at. Faraz Khan says, I think we have around 150 million with no takeover, and with the takeover and sales, maybe 250 to 300 million. Sales is important. Looks like we do need to sell some players, but we've got players we can sell, but not everyone's knocking on our door at the minute. No one's sort of saying, quick, give us this player, give us that player. I think we can get money for Scott McTominay, for Harry Maguire, maybe for Anthony Martial as well, possibly Donny van der Beek. There was talk of Ajax being back in for him. There is transfers to be made, but how urgent are those transfers? How urgently are clubs coming for those players? Doesn't seem to be a lot of movement at the minute, and it is a little bit frustrating. Should we just talk about some of the targets that we've wanted in the past that now looks like they're going somewhere else? And one is Jurrien Timber. Now, we were linked with Timber last season. If you remember, it looked like he was going to come to Old Trafford. There was reports that Louis van Gaal had tried to put him off, saying you don't want to go to Manchester United. Now, he's heading to Arsenal. David Ornstein, who is as tier one can get, very reliable. You can see it there. He says, exclusive. Arsenal working on deal to sign Ajax defender Jurrien Timber. Arsenal have made an opening offer worth 30 million. Ajax want 50 million, but optimism, a compromise will be reached. Personal terms with the Netherlands international thought to be in place. There's a player Erik ten Hag wanted. Erik ten Hag knows. He's worked with him. He's gettable, but we're not in for him, because we've got this limited budget. I think that has to be the answer. I don't think if Erik ten Hag had all the money he wanted, he wouldn't go for Jurrien Timber. Because we know we're in for a defender. We're in for Kim Min-jae. We've been heavily linked with Kim Min-jae. And even that doesn't look like it's going to happen now, because Bayern Munich have come in for him. Kim Min-jae was meant to be a done deal. He's got a buyout clause that is doable. I think it's 52 million quid. He was happy to come to Manchester United. Manchester United wanted him, but now Bayern Munich want him, and they're making moves already. They're apparently negotiating with him over personal terms, whilst we're still dragging our heels. And I don't think it's Erik ten Hag's fault. I don't think Erik ten Hag is sat there thinking, well, I'm not going to bother trying to get these players in. I can't, I've got other things to do. I think it's because of this takeover, and I think he doesn't have the money or doesn't know the funds he's got available for certain players. It's incredibly frustrating. Abhinav Kanagat, who's been a member of the Academy 25 months, says, are there any outs linked to any clubs at all? Anyone interested in the players United want to sell? How are we raising the cash because it's so late? There was talk, I'll get into that next tweet in a sec, there was talk that Scott McTominay was wanted by Newcastle. Harry Maguire, I think, was linked to, was it Spurs, I think, were interested in him. Maybe Villa or someone else as well. Ajax were in for Donny van der Beek as well. There was rumours there that could happen. But there's not been a whole host of clubs in for loads of our players. But we do have players we can move on. The problem is a lot of those players, you're looking at around maybe 15, 20 million quid. There's no one there you think, oh, well, we can get 50 or 60 million quid for him. I don't see that happening anytime soon. 50 shillings says, Maguire. Yeah, maybe. Maguire could be someone we move on. But we'll have to wait and see. There you can see Florian Plettenberg. He's backing up what David Ornstein is saying. Yes, Arsenal in the race for Timber now. A first official offer in the range of 35 million was rejected in the last hours by Ajax. Ajax demands up to 50 million. Both clubs want to find an agreement soon. That looks like it's about to happen. And that is incredibly frustrating, because that is a player we were linked with that Erik ten Hag wanted. And Arsenal, who finished above us in the league, are making moves. They are going to improve their squad. And it's not just with Jurrien Timber. They've been linked with Kai Havertz. Now, you might not rate Kai Havertz, but obviously Mikel Arteta does. They've been linked with, was it Declan Rice as well? There could be something happening with Declan Rice. They're making big moves in the transfer market this summer. And as of yet, we're still not making them. Now, I know what you might be thinking. You might be thinking, well, hang on a minute, Jay, it's only, a week into not even a week into the transfer window. Is there any cause for concern yet? Are we not just getting a bit overexcited? But this really worries me. It does. You can get rid of that now if you get that off the screen. It does worry me because I think when you look at Erik Ten Hag and the way he's been treated, I still think he was sold a bit of a duff one during the January transfer window. Everyone looks at the fact in the summer we spent money, but we had to spend money. We finished 6th under Ralph Rangnick, and we had players that left. Edinson Cavani left, Nemanja Matic left, Paul Pogba left. Now, you might not rate all those players, but they were either in the team or in and around the squad. They featured for Manchester United, so you had to replace them. Plus, you had to strengthen because we just finished 6th. We'd had a disastrous season under Ralph Rangnick, so we bought in some players because we had to try and get top 4 and we had to try and get a trophy, and Erik Ten Hag delivered that. But then what happened, not long after the summer transfer window closed, we lost Cristiano Ronaldo. We lost our top scorer from the previous season. And what did we do in January? What did we do in that January window? We went out, and did we spend any money? No. We bought in players on a free or on a loan move. We bought in Wout Weghorst and we bought in Marcel Sabitzer. And it was incredibly frustrating because going into that transfer window in January, we were like 10 or 11 points off the top. It was very unlikely we were going to challenge for the title, but with a bit of investment buying a striker, we might have been able to put ourselves in the conversation. I don't think we'd have won the title at all, but we could have at least been in that chat towards the end of the season rather than just kicking around trying to make sure we got top 4. We were also in the Europa League knockout stages as well. We had games against Barcelona coming up. We were in the latter stages of the League Cup as well. The FA Cup was yet to play, but we were fighting on 4 fronts. So what did we do? Did the Glazers give Erik Ten Hag the funds he needed? No, they didn't. They didn't give him anything. And when you compare our January transfer spending to other clubs, look at what other clubs spent that summer. That January transfer window. The other clubs went out and they all spent money. And I was looking at this before. I was looking at the amount of money that the other clubs spent. Can you bring it up, Eve? The money that the other clubs spent, and it was staggering how many clubs went out and spent money when we didn't spend anything. Chelsea went out in January and spent 290 million. Southampton spent 60 million. Arsenal spent, I think it was 59 million. Bournemouth spent 54.5 million. Newcastle 48 million. Leeds 46.5 million. Liverpool 45 million. Leicester 32.5 million. This is what they spent in January. All these clubs went out in January. Even City spent, I think, 8 million, and they didn't need to spend anything. What did Manchester United spend in January? Nothing. We didn't back the manager properly. We left him with no transfer budget, and he had to replace Cristiano Ronaldo with no money. And he still managed to make it work. He still managed to finish 3rd and win a trophy. The Glazers didn't back him. And now we're in the summer, and he's not getting back properly. And you might go, well, Jay, it's only, less than a week into the transfer window. But other clubs are making moves. They're buying players, and we're not. And you can say, well, we've got to wait for the takeover to get sorted. Why? Why have we not got a budget anyway? Apparently we have some sort of budget. Why is it not a proper budget where we can go for players like Caicedo, like Harry Kane, like Jurrien Timber, like Kim Min-jae, which looks like that's not going to happen now? What worries me is we are not going to back this manager properly. The Glazers aren't going to back him properly, the owners, whatever. In this summer, we go into next season and we struggle because Chelsea strengthened, Liverpool strengthened, City are being City. Arsenal are strengthening, and it's more difficult. Newcastle will spend money. It's going to be more difficult to stay in that top 3. To improve on it, it's going to be increasingly difficult. So we have a little bit of a drop-off. Maybe we don't win anything next season. Maybe we don't make the top 4 because we haven't backed this manager properly. But I will back this manager. I won't turn on him because I know it's not him. He's the right man for the job. The issue is the Glazers. It's always been the Glazers ever since they've come in. They've never had a clue on how to run a football club. And every time they have backed a manager in one window, they've not backed him in the next one. They did it with Jose, where they backed him in the 2017 transfer window. We finished second, 19 points behind City. Did they back him again? No. They brought in Freddie we didn't want, Diogo Dalot, and a third-choice goalkeeper. These are the owners that let Carlos Tevez leave and Cristiano Ronaldo and brought in and brought in Michael Owen and Gabriel Obertan. And yes, Valencia as well. But come on. How's that a serious football club backing the manager properly? And I know Fergie stomached it because Fergie was a genius and he could work with anything and he still went on to win titles. But mere mortals can't. You need to back the manager properly. Other clubs back their manager, and with us, it's always half measures, and it's still continuing. Until the Glazers go, nothing's going to change. It's just not. And this takeover that's dragging on and on and on is going to cost us another season. It really could do. And my issue is fans will start turning on Erik Ten Hag if next season we don't achieve what we should be achieving, or we go through a sticky patch, and we shouldn't. We should stick with this guy. He knows what he's doing. Even Sir Alex Ferguson in his second full season had a bit of a drop-off because it was a process. And I think this could happen to Erik ten Hag. And yes, I am comparing him to Sir Alex Ferguson because the situation's similar. So I just feel like, back this manager, get behind him, and remember where the problem is at Manchester United Football Club. It's not Erik ten Hag if things go wrong. It's the Glazers, and it continues to be them. Tobias Nilsson says, Jay, your favourite, Bart Verbruggen, is going to Brighton. We should go for him. He's a goalkeeper that we're linked with. Not happening. We have been linked with Jordan Pickford. I'm not a massive fan, I'll be honest with you. I don't even know if that's going to happen. I don't know if any of these transfers are going to happen at the minute. It's hard not to be too pessimistic, because whenever you look like we're linked with someone else comes in and gets them. Jonas Lowick says, Sir Alex Ferguson is the best than Erik ten Hag. Yes. He is. Sir Alex Ferguson is the greatest manager of all time. But my point was, even he had a second season where you could see it was like he was trying to sort things out. That might happen with Erik ten Hag, and it's important that we as a fan base step behind this manager and back him properly. It's just a shame that the owners aren't doing the same. I'm going to wrap it up there. Don't forget to hit like, share and subscribe. If you're not subscribing to the channel, make sure you do. Like I say, we're going to be talking to a leading journalist later on today about the situation with the takeover. Is it going to be Sheikh Jassim? Is it going to be Sir Jim Ratcliffe? Could there be potentially the Glazers staying on? Just before I do wrap up though, there's one, talking to Sir Alex Ferguson, there's one last story that you can see here. Sir Alex Ferguson joins campaign to reclassify football brain injuries. We've seen a lot about football brain injuries, and you can see here from the piece in the BBC. So Sir Alex Ferguson has added his name to a campaign for the Scottish Government to reclassify football-related brain injuries as industrial injuries. So he says here, the former Manchester United manager joins names such as Gordon Strachan, Alex McLeish, Willie Miller and Craig Levin, who have signed the open letter. It comes as a study found ex-professionals were 3.5 times more likely to develop dementia. We've seen it with a lot of ex-players at Manchester United as well. We've seen players, Nobby Stiles obviously suffered from dementia, and a lot of people tied that, including leading medical experts, have tied that to the amount of times he had to head a ball. Gordon McQueen, who recently passed away as well, had issues around dementia. So it's obviously an issue. Fergie's backing this, rightly so as well. And we'll be bringing out a documentary on that very subject in the near future. So make sure you are checking out. Make sure you are hitting like, share and subscribe. I'm Jay Motty. This has been The Paper Talk. Thanks for watching.